School started about a week after the message came through. Deku, still barely unable to talk and unable to use his work, would get dressed and hop in the car. Today was his first day of UA and he was pumped. He walked through the gates of UA looking around the garden and main hallway. The place was huge, marbled floors. He felt richer just walking inside. After making his way inside, he would ask a random for directions, his voice croaking a little bit, which, he would apologize for. The person he would ask would be Mirio. Mirio would walk Deku to class 1A, asking for his name. Deku would tell him and a huge smile would creep over Mirio's face. Ah, so you're the one everyone's been talking about. That explains the croaky voice. You must have fought hard in the entrance exam. Deku nods, kind of freaking out. This was a big deal. He was already a big deal. Something Deku was not used to. He would stand in the hall in the doors of class 1A, staring at the letters before scanning the hallway once more. Mirio legitimately disappearing into nothing next to him. He uses this quirk. Before Deku would open the door. As he opens it, he sees a quite unfamiliar sight. Bakugo of all people arguing with a nerdy, tall-looking kid. Deku tried to look away, but once again he was already the center of attention. Ida coming up to him and introducing himself. Deku waving at him and pointing at his throat before pointing down. Ah, overuse your quirk, I see. Deku smiles and walks to the back of class. Glad he somehow got over that, out of that. He would sit down and start getting his stuff out before a man in a sleeping bag would rise to the floor next to Deku, staring him down for a second and squinting, trying to read Deku a little bit as he introduces himself. My name's Aizawa. I'm your homeroom teacher. Meet me outside and put your gym uniforms on. We're doing a little test. The class groans, the usual people complaining about it being unfair before Aizawa shuts them up. They would eventually meet him outside, Deku coming out last and sitting at the back of the class, trying not to be the center of attention, staying under the radar before he's called out by first name out to the front. He sighs and walks up, Aizawa explaining the ball throw test, telling Deku to throw it normally first. Deku does this and gets about 80 meters. Aizawa impressed as Deku uses his quirk this time. Deku scratches the back of his neck and shows some teeth, before rummaging through his pocket and showing Aizawa the note from the doctor. Aizawa's face drops. Ugh, lame. Alright, fine. Bakugo, you come up instead. Don't think that means you're out of the test, Midoriya. Deku feels a drop of sweat go down his face. Bakugo throwing it and getting his usual score, staring at Deku afterwards and blowing an explosion in his hand. Deku rolls his eyes, doing the entirety of the test quirkless pretty much, somehow staying top 15, landing himself 14th place. He's been training for a while and working out, no way he loses to Invisible Girl, Mineta, that tail guy, let's be real, Koda, what the hell, and, maybe Jiro, just saying. Anyway, Aizawa is low-key impressed with his score, noting things to himself as he tells the class that he was joking about the expulsion. The class boos Aizawa before they're sent off to orientation. Class but after that would go as usual, Deku staying borderline silent in the back of the class for a week or two once Bakugo once again using every opportunity he had to mess with Deku, even still. Deku in his head memorized everything Bakugo said, did to him, every lunch tray he tipped over or shove he gave him. He wanted to get his get back. A week later, he would have the opportunity. All Might entering their class like a normal person and explaining the battle trials they will go through today. The 2v2 heroes versus villains. And just in time for Deku's quirk to be usable again. His throat feeling much better than ever. Pause. He glares at Bakugo who catches his eye. Deku grinning slightly before looking away. Bakugo was about to be public enemy number 1. They get their outfits on like in canon. Deku rocking a cloak like Doflamingo, but, nice and dark green. Rocking the same mouth tattoo Inumaki has. Also rocking some clean white shoes. He walks in dripped out, standing at the back of the class as All Might announces the battle teams. Team 1, Deku and Uraraka versus Team 2, Ida and Bakugo. Deku in his head jumps for joy, but in reality he looks at the floor, trying to seem off-putted by this. Bakugo seeing this, pumps his ego up even more. He makes his way inside, explosions already blaring. Deku and Uraraka also make their way in to the front of the building instead. For once, Deku would talk, introducing himself properly to Uraraka and explaining his injury for the last month and how he got it. She apologizes for needing his saving and messing with his quirk, which he shoots down. It would all be worth it after what he was going to do with Bakugo right now. The system goes off and straight away Deku rushes in, leaving Uraraka behind and yelling for her to find him without her. To find the room without him. He runs straight through the hallway, the class watching on, All Might included. What was he thinking? He runs up the stairs, bouncing off the wall at the halfway point and rolling up the staircase, running about 10 meters down the hallway before he finally sees him. Bakugo slowly falling down the stairs opposite to him. Deku grins immediately, Bakugo landing and finally seeing Deku would rush in with an explosion. Guess your balls finally dropped, huh? They meet in the middle and Bakugo sends his normal looping right hook. Deku about 2 meters away watches as Bakugo's palm ignites mid-punch. His grin turns into a smile as he licks his lips. Stop. Bakugo freezes midair, explosions completely cancelling out. His fist caught about 30 centimeters away from Deku's face. The class over the intercom looks horrified. Is this Deku's quirk? They hadn't seen it in first person yet. It was so... As the class gawks over him on the intercom, Deku goes in, rushing at a frozen Bakugo, hitting him with a 1-2 combo to the gut before releasing his hold over him. Bakugo drops down and smacking on the floor, Deku smacking him in the gut with a mean kick. Bakugo shoots backwards, Deku staring him down once more would speak again. Stop. Once again, Bakugo freezes mid-air, still feeling the impact of the last kick as Deku rushes in once more at him. Deku jumps off in the air. Deku jumps off the wall next to him and sends a haymaker right kick at Bakugo's side, unfreezing him to redirect the direction he was going at. Bakugo slams on the wall next to him, smacking his head on it and laying out half unconscious. Deku stares at him. Now, kneel. Bakugo's eyes widen, his body instinctively kneeling in front of Deku. Head held low, muscles completely locked up in that position. Bakugo screams at Deku. What did you do to me, you damn Deku? I'll kill you. I'll kill you right now. Deku rolls his eyes at Bakugo. Silence. Bakugo immediately quiets down, stuck silent and kneeling before Deku, half beaten. Deku looks over at him. Not a good sight if I do say so myself. Deku looks behind him and stares at the way of the camera, showing the class Bakugo on the floor in that state. Deku's hold beginning to wear off as Bakugo's screams begin to come out, his body thrashing like a rabid dog. Deku takes a few steps backwards, watching as Bakugo breaks his hold over him, straight away exploding at Deku, his right gauntlet pulsating red as a smile creeps over Bakugo's face. Go to hell, Deku. I'll make sure you don't become a hero. He holds his hand out, gauntlet facing Deku. Deku knew something was up, remembering back to when he first explained his quirk. Right as Bakugo pulled the pen, Mum decided to just yell out of nowhere. As Bakugo pulled the pen, All Might came over the intercom. No, stop, you'll kill... He's cut off by another noise. This time, it was the same ringing of a command Deku speaks. Deku speaking calmly. Shatter. The gauntlet on Bakugo's right arm shattering into a million pieces, water spilling over the floor next to him. Deku walks forward, looking at his left hand and repeating the same command once more. Bakugo lost both gauntlets, beginning to back up as Deku walks him down. Pause. Bakugo stops in his track. Deku 5 meters away, 4 meters, 3, 2. He clocks his foot up, kicking Bakugo square in the stomach with a Sparta kick. Bakugo still frozen midair, feeling the impact but unable to react. Before Deku says his last command, you know Bakugo, you deserve this. Shit yourself. Bakugo's eyes go wide as just as commanded he flies backwards. Impact of the kick finally reaching him as he can't hold it anymore. Deku, as he's mid-tumble, would speak once more. Now, sleep. Bakugo slumps to the floor, completely knocked out. The class looks on, grossed out. And because they don't have the audio, they didn't hear Deku make the command. So, to them, Bakugo got his ass kicked so bad, he knocked out and shit himself. Uraraka comes up the stairs after scanning the first floor. Deku laughs a little bit, telling her not to worry as they rush to the 3rd floor. They find the bomb room. Deku passing Ida as they legit walk inside and touch the bomb. The class stands and stares. His quirk was insane. What even happened? Deku and Uraraka make their way back to the class as people ask what Deku's power is. Deku smirking a little bit and deciding to keep it hidden for the time being. Bakugo is picked up by one of the medical robots and taken to Recovery Girl. Her finding out he was only asleep wakes his ass up and sends him back to class. The memories of what happened hit Bakugo as he woke up, his hatred for Deku going even further. They end up finishing and the rest goes as canon. Deku getting the MVP because, of course he did. And then he ends up going back to class. Bakugo returning to class the next day, a consistent scowl on his face. Every laugh he thought was directed at him. Every giggle in Bakugo's eyes, he got embarrassed in front of the whole class. Deku legitimately had him on his knees. From the back of the class, he harbors this hate. Slowly it itches away at him, constantly wanting to fight. Due to this, Bakugo begins to train like mad. This goes on for a week, regular classes continuing as in canon, learning some algebra and stuff until they're told by their homeroom teacher that they will be going on a field trip today instead of their regular classes. The class is confused until Aizawa explains where. The USJ. Deku already knew this place. The USJ, it was famous around the world, It's got rescue facilities. He gets hyped straight away going onto the bus. The class follows behind him as they eventually take off. Like in canon, the regular chat goes down. Froppy asking who everyone thinks is the strongest. Majority of the class would actually choose Todoroki over Deku. Everyone's still confused on what his quirk was. From the front of the class of the bus, Aizawa listened on. He too was curious. He read his file, but that hadn't been updated since age 4. He wanted to know the details. Deku thinks a while before flat out telling him. He explains how his quirk works. How whenever he says an action or a command directed at a person, object, or thing in general, that thing must be commanded. So far, he hasn't fought anyone strong enough for Deku to break his grasp yet, though he doesn't know his limits. The class is shocked. His power was borderline godly. They ask him a flurry of questions. What commands can he do? Can he insta-kill someone? Deku kind of just sits there and thinks. He hadn't really thought about that yet. And that's where I'm leaving part 2. I am having fun writing this series. It is going to be a long one, I can already tell. I hope you're enjoying it either way. Check out the podcast link down below and the Spotify linked in the comments. And if you leave a like and subscribe, I do want to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. So, yeah, have a good one. Sorry for yelling too.